What up, TCK Potters? I'm your host, Sky Guasco. This is episode 196 of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Podcast. We are joined once again by good friend Jonathan Rifkind, and as always, Lukas Kaser. Today we are breaking down the AFC side of our quick reactions from the NFL draft that happened just this past weekend. On Thursday, we'll have the NFC quick reactions, and then next week, Lukas and I are going to dive in much deeper and break down the fantasy implications overall for current players and the incoming rookies in their situations. Before we get into it, though, let's check back in with the boys. Jonathan, how you feeling, man? How was this weekend? Did you watch the draft? How much of it? And what were your quick reactions of the teledraft in general?
I watched every moment of it. I didn't have the sound on for like the 4th through 7th rounds just because at that point, but I did hear that Louis Riddick questioned Troy Dye's commitment to the game, and so I'm sure we'll get to that later. So I'm glad I heard that part because man, did that give me some opinions. Teledraft was fantastic. I mean, what 16 million live viewers or something? It was. I mean, the numbers were off the charts. ESPN and ABC executed it perfectly. I mean, there's no way that you can do it other than the way that they did it, and it's really not. I mean, it's really hard. You have probably 8 or 10 different producers, all remote in their homes, and maybe one guy in a truck and one guy in the studio where our boy, what's his name? Why am I forgetting Trey Wingo was hosting, and like that's the setup, and it's crazy. It was incredible. It was incredible. Finally, nice to have a big sporting event back. I will say though, the WNBA draft the week prior was a really good prerequisite to the NFL draft this past weekend.
Lukas?
I mean, unrelated to the draft, but Jameis Winston, the heir to Drew Brees, signed today when we're recording. So I love that. Far off my Patriots Super Bowl take, but I mean, the draft was good. We'll have lots of recaps and all that stuff, but it was a good time.
Yeah, Booker had 4 words the entire time, and it was very nice.
I really enjoyed it too. And I was quite impressed on, before, last week when we were doing all the breakdowns, we had kind of an over-under and things on how many, glitches and full mishaps we would have had. And there were a couple technical errors and there was a couple delays, as you can imagine. But that's all kind of, I mean, we experienced that shit just doing these podcasts. So overall, I thought it was pretty incredible. There was definitely some funny, pseudo hacking situations that came up, and there was a couple pictures of certain teams, such as the Chargers, that couldn't fill up their entire board of their fake fan base, which I thought was hilarious. There was a couple of those silly things, but honestly, as much as I think Roger Goodell's a goober, I thought he did a decent job overall, and I thought it was fun, and it was cool to see that the kids had the players. Sorry, I'm old. The players had a good 5-6 people with them at home. We kind of made a prediction last week that they may just be them and one other person. I do appreciate that they had a couple people there to react with them, to get that real emotion. And obviously it's a life-changing opportunity for these kids and their families. So, obviously congrats to all the players. So I thought it was a good time. I watched 90% of it as well. And it was really, really well done. So that was awesome. Definitely a handful of surprises, which we're going to get into. Not too many in the first day per se, but kind of throughout. Some guys dropped as always. Some guys came up the board. So we're going to get into that. Purpose of this episode, though, is to get you some quick reactions. So we're going to save a lot of that analysis and deep dive into the fantasy implications for next week with Lukas and I, as I mentioned. But for this one, we're going to go team by team, AFC specific today, NFC specific on Thursday, and we're going to dive into just the skill players, maybe a couple offensive linemen that matter, a couple of defensive grabs for you IDP players, and just get right into it. So without any further ado, let's dive in. Of course, we need to start with the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. They had 6 overall picks this year. They were the first to draft a running back, and that came with the last pick of the first round at 132. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the first running back off of the board. Lukas, right away, is he the rookie 101?
Oh, I mean, as much as I don't want to put him there, he has to be. This was Andy Reid just flexing on us, acting like, yeah, they won they won the Super Bowl, but this team has so many defensive needs. So like, it was a terrible actual franchise NFL pick. Did they even address the corner? Yeah, they didn't add a single corner, and I think they have one under contract next year. So I mean, he's the rookie 101. He's gonna be what we really want James White to be. That one year he was an RB1 every single year. He's going to catch probably He'll probably be like third in catches in the NFL behind Kamara and actually probably fourth. Kamara, Eckler, and CMC, but he's going to be used a lot. And yeah, 101. He'll probably be a top 2 round pick in redraft too, I'd imagine.
Riff, any quick reactions to Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the first running back? Not Swift, not Taylor.
Right, yeah, it was just, well, Taylor never made sense for this offense. But yeah, the conversation in my head was, well, why didn't they take Swift? Go back and look at the tape. This guy, I mean, West, if you're going to run the hybrid West Coast offense for all intents and purposes that the KC Chiefs run, that you want this guy over Swift because he moves quicker, and I think he's more dynamic in the passing game, which for Mahomes' case is exactly what you're looking for. So I was a little bit surprised at first that he was taken before Swift. But for this offense, I mean, like you said, Lucas, it's the flex. It's just the rich getting richer. They need the running back to rush more than 500 yards because they didn't have that last season, and maybe this is your guy.
Love it. The rest of the draft, there was a linebacker, offensive tackle, safety, defensive end, and cornerback there for the Chiefs. And, of course, we're not bearing the lead by this point. I mean, it's Tuesday. It's 3 days after the NFL draft. I'm quite positive that you've heard that Joe Burrow went first, and we had the rest of the order. So we're not going in order kind of on purpose. We're breaking it down by team if you're curious why we didn't start with Joe Burrow, though. We will get to the maybe not so Bungles anymore in just a little bit. So that's why we're going this way here. But by team, Chiefs with 6 picks, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, got to be the rookie 101. I agree with you. We will go over the rest of the running backs drafted as we get going here. Let's move on to the first LA team, the Chargers, 6 picks as well. They really stocked up on an already pretty solid offense. They go with Justin Herbert out of Oregon. I was excited to see that. No real surprise there. I mean, there were some talks of Miami, but Tua just made sense. So Herbert gets a chance in LA, which I like a lot. And then they go down the line here. They get Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma at linebacker, but then Josh Kelly, a running back, Joe Reed, a wide receiver, and then KJ Hill from Ohio State, a wide receiver, drops all the way to the back of the 7th round. So I want to spend some time here on the Chargers. Jonathan, we'll start with you with Justin Herbert. No real surprise here, but how do you feel he fits in? And there you go, my man. Good timing. Will Tyrod start? Do you think he starts? Do you think Herbert really has a chance to take the reins right away?
It's going. That's the big. Well, I think it really. This is where the whole conversation of, okay, if the NFL decides to start on time, what's the preparation going to be like? Because Herbert is going to be a guy that they're going to want to prep. If he's going to take the reins right away, they need OTAs. They need mini camps. They need to be in film rooms with the entire staff and the playmaker. Like, you need this guy to be as prepped as possible. He's a sponge, right? When he was drafted, he said, I missed one question about the playbook in my Zoom interview with the Chargers, and I was really pissed off about it and couldn't get over it, right? This guy's a perfectionist. The problem is how do you feed a perfectionist if there's no opportunity to do so? So with the way that things are going and the way that the NFL is trying to execute the season, I don't think Herbert will start right off the bat. I don't think there's enough time. I don't think that he'll have the opportunity to get acquainted with the team enough to get to that point. But by mid-season, I have every ounce of faith that he will be the starter, and it's going to be a fun freaking time. Let me tell you, we've been saying it the entire year. If he goes to the Chargers, it's going to be the perfect offense. They want to run the Shanahan-style hybrid offense, RPO-style offense with him. He's going to be in Los Angeles where the ball carries. This guy has a gun and leadership. Come on, guys. Like, he led Oregon to a Rose Bowl championship in Los Angeles. Everybody's like, oh, LA's going to eat him up. He beat Wisconsin in Los Angeles. What more proof do you need that Justin Herbert can play in LA? So, great pick. Obviously, the option. I'm very happy. Tua is a better quarterback right now. But man, what a spot for him with these wide receivers. And to get KJ Hill at the back end of the draft, just a speedster with good hands, just a padding. That's all it is padding. So yeah, I love it, and I'm excited to see him down here in LA. Oh, Josh Kelly, really quickly, great in the passing game. Not a big pass blocker, but he's from LA, or he's from the greater Los Angeles area. He's from up in Lancaster. He went to UCLA. He's staying home. This is where he's comfortable, and I'm very happy that the Chargers end up taking him. Again, great in the passing game. He should complement Jackson, I think, pretty well. So yeah, that's how I see the Chargers offense right now with this draft.
we saw this a couple of years ago. I had mentioned before the draft that Tyrod Taylor was the Browns quarterback. Baker Mayfield got drafted. Baker was sitting out. Really, everyone was calling for for Baker. Tyrod goes down on Thursday Night Football against the Jets. I think it was week 4, if I remember correctly, week 4 or 5. And Baker got his opportunity, and the rest is history. Tyrod was booted right away. I see this happening probably again, and this time probably regardless of injury. I agree with you. I think that with this particular offseason, Herbert's going to have to kind of wait in the wings, which honestly is probably going to be better for these rookie quarterbacks. And Tyrod is plenty capable for a good 4 to 6 games, but I think Herbert gets his chance, so I like that a lot. Lukas, I know that you actually like Josh Kelly here from UCLA to the Chargers. My question is this a problem for Justin Jackson? We know that Eckler's going to definitely be the starter to start, but is this a problem for Justin Jackson in redraft and dynasty leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole Kelly pick, well, you look at their whole draft. So they took Herbert, good pick, probably the franchise quarterback we all hope. They traded their 2nd and 3rd round pick to move up for Kenneth Murray. Kind of not really a position of need, but I still like the pick. He's a stud. He's going to be their probably defensive captain in 2 years for a long time. They did not address the O tackle position, which is kind of scary because Trey Pipkins is not a starting left tackle, like a less than like a 60 PFF grade the last 2 years. So we'll see how that. Maybe they go get Jason Peters or someone on the free agency market. But I think Josh Kelly's probably just going to replace Justin Jackson. Draft capital is higher. Special teams player. He might just be worth more of the roster spot if it comes down to it than Justin Jackson. I don't know. I don't think they're going to try and run the ball between the tackles very much anyways as it is. So I think it's still Eckler's show and probably not much competition. But Kelly could maybe be the 10 touches a game where we thought Jackson would be.
Can I address the OT thing really quickly? Is that okay? Sorry.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, just really quickly. I got into a Twitter fight with somebody about this, and I think I won. So I just wanted to really address it because I'm confident in how I stand. Okay, so the offensive tackle issue is the problem for the Chargers. They didn't address it to the extent that we wanted them to. Kelly had a terrible offense. Okay, again, this goes to the whole college versus NFL. You're playing against pros versus college players. UCLA had like a bottom. Like if you look at the ratings, the analytics, UCLA was like a bottom 100 program in offensive line rating this past year. Kelly was still good. And then everybody's like, oh, well, Herbert needs protection. Oregon's potentially the number 1 pick in next year's draft, Panea Sewell, got injured last year for 6 games, and Herbert still put up big numbers because he learned how to maneuver in the pocket, within the pocket and also out of the pocket. So anyways, people saying, oh, Herbert was a bad pick, Kelly was a bad pick because of the OT situation, go look at the tape and then bring me back that same argument.
Love it. I love to give some shout outs to the O line. So big up. Cool. Let's move on here. I do like KJ Hill at the end though. That was sneaky. I heard the name. I wasn't watching the draft at the time. I was doing something else and I heard the name come across. I was like, KJ Hill, doesn't he sound like a not 7th round name? What the hell is that? Anyway, so do you guys know, I mean, is there a reason he's in the 7th round that I'm unaware of right now?
I mean, it's why Terry McLaurin.
So many other receivers.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin was like a 4th or 5th round pick just because he was okay. Like he was an Ohio State receiver that produced okay. Same with KJ Hill, so could be the next breakout, I guess.
Got it. Cool. All right, let's move on to the Raiders now in Las Vegas. Of course, they have 7 picks this year, 3 receivers in the first 4 picks. We'll go over that, of course. And I think that spells the end already for Tyrell Williams, Nelson Aguilar, who came over in free agency from the Eagles, and Hunter Renfrow, who got a lot of hype last year coming out of Clemson, of course, and then was kind of a deep sleeper, if you will, in drafts early spring. But, man, they brought in some guns on top of that. So they go Henry Ruggs with the 12th pick overall from Alabama. They go Lynn Bowden Jr. from Kentucky, who we talked about quite a bit on our wide receiver episode, as well as Brian Edwards out of South Carolina. So I'm going to ask about Carr and Mariota in general as quarterbacks later. But Lukas, we'll start with you. With these 3 receivers, is Ruggs potentially their number 1 right away? Lynn Bowden maybe wide receiver 2? And how do we feel about Brian Edwards?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of both fantasy and normal football implications for the Raiders here. I mean, I think they literally just drafted their 3 starting receivers. Hunter Renfrow plays the slot, but if it comes down to it, I think they're going to choose Darren Waller to cover the middle of the field and have Edwards play the slot instead of Hunter Renfrow, who's a 5th round pick. That's on a cheap deal. The Raiders use a lot of quick like, okay, Henry Ruggs is a burner. Everyone thinks that he's just going to run straight line downfield. Everyone thinks Tyreek Hill runs straight line downfield, but he doesn't when you actually watch it. They use quick routes, screens, now routes, little slant routes. If they use Ruggs in that role, I think it's going to be effective. That's how the Raiders run their offense normally. They just haven't had a receiver to do that yet. We saw the last like high-profile receiver, Amari Cooper, that just whatever reason didn't work out. I guess I don't really know why. This could work out. I mean, we'll go to the Broncos next. I think teams are trying to beat the Chiefs by being the Chiefs in a way. So I think it might work, but it could be easily a Raiders thing to take Brian Edwards, who was hurt, quarterback, running back, wide receiver to play wide receiver, and then probably the least productive wide receiver in college as the first guy off the board. So we'll see. Definitely a risk, but I kind of like what they're doing for sure.
To your point, Lucas, really quick riff before you go. The Chiefs did not draft any wide receivers. Of course, we know that they have 4 very quality wide receivers, Travis Kelce, now Edwards-Helaire, and Damian Williams. But the Chargers drafted 2 receivers to go along with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. The Raiders already had the 3 receivers that I just mentioned. They drafted 3 more. And the Broncos, who we'll get to in just a minute, have solid receivers as well, and they drafted 3 as well. So, Lucas, I think you're right on. But it's one of those, if you can't beat them, join them kind of a thing. So I think it's like they're really setting that template in the AFC West, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be run and gun here pretty quickly. We just need to see if these quarterbacks can keep up with Mahomes, which could be a long shot. Riff, why don't you take it away here on these receivers specifically for the Raiders?
Yeah, it'll be a long shot for a Raiders quarterback to catch up to Mahomes. But look, you could stack you could plug in Carr Mariota to the Chiefs offense, and you're not going to get the same production. But I mean, look, they stacked what they had to stack. I think that they are pushing to. The biggest thing for me was that Tyrell Williams was he had the foot injury last year. He seemed to step slow. His progressions through the secondary after the catch weren't very good. So what ends up happening is Brian Edwards is the slot. I think he'll be the slot guy, but Bowden Jr. can be lined up anywhere. This offers the assurance that if Tyrell Williams gets injured, if he's a step off, now you have somebody that complements Ruggs with speed, but can also he's a plug. Like Bowden Jr. is a plug and play guy. You could throw him in a T formation in the backfield if you wanted to, as like your Y in the flat on a dump down, and he'll get you 15 or 20 yards because he has great downfield vision, and he's just very maneuverable, side to side. So, and then bringing Brian Edwards, again, another plug and play guy, a little bit smaller, flashy hands. He was inconsistent in South Carolina, but when Helinski went down, he didn't really have a guy to throw him the football. So I don't know if he'll have a guy throwing him the football in Las Vegas, but these were the players that were needed skill-wise outside of the quarterback. We'll get to that, like you said, later for the Raiders. So I'm not mad about it.
I'm certainly not comparing Henry Ruggs to Darius Hayward-Bay, but it's hard to not acknowledge the last time that the Raiders reached up and took the fastest wide receiver in the draft here was Darius Hayward-Bay. Really quick, 10 seconds or less, your thoughts on Henry Ruggs being the first wide receiver off the board.
Sorry, Lucas.
It's good.
Glad that he deserves to be the first wide receiver. Not deserves to. You can make a case for him being the first wide receiver off the board, but it's sad that it's the Raiders that he's going to as the first wide receiver off the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's you don't see a receiver like this. I mean, like John Ross is like the next guy I can think happened to be him, but we only talked about John Ross after he ran the 40. We were talking about Ruggs before he ran the 40, so I think it's worthy of the pick. We'll see. I mean, they still need a wide receiver 1, so if Brian Edwards can be what everyone thinks he's going to be, I think they'll be okay, but I like what they're doing.
Got it. All right, let's move on to the Broncos. Lucas, I would have been pumped on this draft if I were a Bronco fan such as you. 10 picks in this year's draft, 3 receivers, plus Albert O for Drew Lock. Drew Lock's stock skyrocketed overnight in fantasy football. How are you feeling overall, man? And then I'll let you just kind of dive through these 3 receivers and tight end for the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I like the draft. They stuck to what they wanted to do and build around Drew Lock. They got O-line or two offensive linemen. I'm going to say 1 because the other guy's kind of a dart thrower. He's just a really big guard, really athletic, not non-athletic guard, just powerful. He benched 44 reps at the combine or something insane like that. But I think You got your speed guy. Like I said, you got to be the Chiefs to beat the Chiefs. They got a 4.27 runner in KJ Hamler, Tyreek Hill, Henry Ruggs. They're all doing it. You got Judy. You got the guy you wanted without having to move up. The only pause I have is I'm not going to get too excited because if Drew Lock does not hit, we're screwed and we're back in the rebuild mode again. He played 4 games last year. I can't. The last time I got pumped and bought a jersey, it was Brock Osweiler, and we all know that happened. So I stand
So
pat.
don't buy his jersey.
Yeah, I'm not buying his jersey. I'm gonna buy like a Albert O jersey just to have the name on the back or something. But I think, I don't know. I mean, they did what they did. They built. Well, I mean, I don't give draft grades because it's completely different for every single team. But they've been ranked towards the top, right along with the Ravens and the Cowboys. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We basically filled every single hole. So it's all in Drew Lock's hands now for sure.
Riff?
Yeah, that's the only question I had was if Drew Lock doesn't pan out, what happens? Because you have great playmakers around him, and we'll see how they use Albert O in that offense. But the ball carries down there. If they protect him, he's going to have an incredible group of weapons around him. But if he's unprotected or he just is reckless with the football, which is what we saw in his final year at Missouri, the year after his 55 touchdown season, I'm going to be very worried and a little bit sad. Again, like seeing these amazing players going to teams where you're not sure, like it would be like it's like Chicago. It's like, well, these are great skill players, but like, how are they going to pan out on this team? So that's my only thing is like I want these guys to pan out. These are great picks, but for a team like this, I want to actually get a sample size before I start to articulate my thoughts on it.
This is where I wish we would have kept Joe Flacco just for that reason. Because if Joe Flacco had these weapons last year, we probably would have been 10-6. Because he played fine last year.
Are you surprised Denver didn't make a run at Jameis?
I was saying a guy like Anthony Gordon or like Jake Fromm or like I mean I know I don't want Jake Fromm, but like where he went in round 5, like that's such a steal just for a long-term backup. So.
Yeah.
Like Case Keenum, I wish we would have still had him maybe with this team or something like that. It's when Manning came to the Broncos. It's not like he was throwing the ball all over the place like he used to. He was just getting the ball to the playmakers and they were making plays. So if Locke can do that, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
You want to shoot Trevor Siemian a quick text and
hey,
see if he can.
Last game he played in, I think they lost like 44-0 in prime time. So.
Yikes! All right, couple quick questions here for the Broncos. Personally, I love the KJ Hamler grab. He's one of my favorite picks in the draft just when they got him in the back of the second round, and I think he's just going to be a beast. We talked about the Penn State wide receivers that kind of fly under the radar last week with Godwin and Allen Robinson and a few others. So I like that a lot to complement Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. For Jerry Jeudy going 15th overall, Lukas, does this help or hurt Courtland Sutton in fantasy?
Helps this year. I think hurts long. I think Judy's going to be the one. They like Sutton, but I mean, if you look at the games where Sutton played with Locke, he really wasn't that good. Maybe just chemistry, but Sutton's more of a big body, go up and get a receiver, which is like what you need. 3 different types of receivers in your offense, but I think Judy's more of like it's a dumb comp, but like a Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, like alpha receiver.
I like it. And then just another note here: Albert O and Drew Lock, former teammates at Missouri, so they already have that rapport there. 2 tight end sets, or a legit backup for Noah Fant?
I don't know. I think it was another speed grab and the whole connection. I don't really know. We do need a fullback, so maybe he plays fullback / tight end or something like that. So I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Kind of a hybrid dude, like Kittle played like that in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I like it. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps up the AFC West. If you're digging the content so far and you want to give us some feedback on these picks, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave a comment below, and also make sure that you share and leave a rate and review for all of our podcast networks wherever you're listening. Let's dive into the AFC East with the Patriots. We could talk about Bill Belichick's house and his adorable husky puppy all day long, but for sake of time and content, we'll get into the actual draft picks. The Patriots had 10 picks this year. They went 3 defenders right off the board to add to the NFL's #1 defense from 2019, and 2 tight ends. Of course, you know that Gronkowski comes out of retirement, signs with the Buccaneers. That's a conversation for another time. They don't really have another tight end on the roster of note. I actually text our good brother Chris from the Commish FFP, who's a good friend of the podcast, and they're New England boys, and I was like, who is your tight end? And he said Matt Lacoste ? So looks like they were trying to bone up there. So let's, not spend too much time on the defense, but just a thought of the Patriots in general with quarterback question marks still. They have 4 running backs, but not really the guy. Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry, maybe some other guys, Jacoby Myers, and no tight ends. So with the first 3 picks, they go defense again to bulk this. Do you think that was smart and that's just Belichick doing his thing, or do you think they should have gone elsewhere here?
How Belichickian is it to get a Division II safety as your first pick in the draft?
He's so good though. He's
Oh, so I don't know how much you guys know about Lenore Wren, the Division II powerhouse out of Hickory, North Carolina. 13-1 season, lost in the region. Now this is a team that finished number 4 overall in the Division II national polls. So they're not messing around. Like, this is the real deal. Now, they did lose to the 20th ranked something or others, like West Florida in the regional playoffs this past, but, like, this is one guy. Anyways, just wanted to give you a little tidbit about our friends at Lenore Wren. I don't know how you evaluate a non-Division I guy outside of the tails of the tape. So I think they were using, obviously, his combine stats, how he's tested as an athlete outside of the game film. His game film was fantastic. His coverage is insane. So that's all I'll say about the defense is that it's hilarious that he drafted a Division II guy with their first pick that nobody's ever heard of before, but he's fantastic up until this point, basically. Devin Asiasi was awesome. He's fast. Another California born and raised kid. Obviously went to UCLA. And Dalton Keene's going to be a good blocker for them. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think this was a very Belichick draft, taking a kicker in the 5th round and then going straight defense up until the center down into the 7th round with Dustin Woodward from Memphis.
Lucas?
I mean, one on the kicker. This was the first when he got announced. They said this is such a Belichick move to draft a guy. The only player they did not have game film on, like the draft guys on like ESPN. The only player. So that's one for that. Whatever. They needed a kicker, I guess. Their replacement. I don't know. I mean, they traded up twice for both these tight ends. They moved up in the draft to take 2 tight ends that I didn't even know existed. So that has to mean something. Like, they're going to be good, I guess. They're going to be used. I don't know. But everyone's going to doubt the Patriots. They're going to doubt Belichick. They do this every single year. And they're the 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs. So, I mean, Stidham's there. People are going to, like, hate on Stidham because whatever. Brady was a 6th-round pick. We saw how that played out. So, I don't want to, like, say they didn't draft their needs because, I don't know, they replaced their 2 linebackers they lost, added a dynamic playmaker, filled their tight end gap, put the question mark at the end, and then, I don't know, they didn't get a receiver, which was shocking, and they didn't get a single quarterback, so obviously they like Stidham. They're going to be the best, worst team in the NFL for sure.
Well, and they bulked up on offensive line at the back. They got a guard, a tackle, and a center with 3 of the last 4 picks. So, they're just padding the stats on the roster. Griff?
Brian Lewerke signing, by the way. Awful. Terrible. I had somebody today, I saw a tweet, like, I can convince myself to get behind Jake Fromm if the Patriots took him in the 5th round, but they signed Brian Lewerke, and that's a real challenge. Yeah, it's a challenge. Nobody wants Brian Lewerke. Shouldn't, like, go watch the 2018 Red Box Bowl and then tell me that Brian Lewerke should be an NFL quarterback. Sorry. Oregon won 7-6. Oregon won 7-6. It was insane.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, or go watch the ASU game from last year when Michigan State played at ASU as a ranked team and got it was a joke. Jaden Daniels is way better than Lewerke. Anyways, my point is that, yeah, I don't know from a fantasy perspective until we get some clarity on the quarterback situation, how that offense, even with Asiasi or Keene or however they want to use these guys, I don't know how that offense is going to fare with Stidham, Lewerke, or Hoyer, whoever they throw into that quarterback position.
The last time the Patriots drafted 2 tight ends in the same draft was 2011 when they got Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. So we'll see what happens with these 2 guys. Of course, I mean, Belichick doesn't move around, man. He's a gangster. He's a silent assassin. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing, whether we laugh at him or not, and he's usually laughing at the end of the season. So I'm going to trust him. I just thought it was impressive. And also, Justin Rohrwasser, our man, the kicker here, I just found it unbelievable that over the last almost 20 years at least, almost 30 years, the Patriots have basically had 3 kickers, Vinatieri, Gostkowski, and Rohrwasser, which are just phenomenal last names that nobody else has in the league. So I think that's a good scouting report there from Coach B. All right, so the Patriots 10 picks, get it done on defense, just bolster up once again. And they believe in the guys that they have, at least. So that gives me a little more confidence in the Sony Michels and the James Whites and Julian Edelman. And hopefully N'Keal Harry. I know we were high on him last year, and it got ruined with injury, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on to the Bills, who I think will be the AFC champion, or AFC East champions, at least, this year. 7 picks. They doubled up on steady positions, and I think they feel good about the O-line and the defense because they didn't attack it really at all. They do go with A.J. Espinoza from Iowa, but then they go Zach Moss, Gabriel Davis, there's Jake Fromm, and Isaiah Hodgins, who I know that Riff gave a shout-out from Oregon State last time. So let's start with Zach Moss. Lukas, is this a compliment or competition for Devin Singletary?
It's just Frank Gore's replacement from last year. So, like, they're going to run 2 backs. I mean, there's not really, like, they obviously really like Singletary. They took him in the 3rd round. They took Zach Moss in the 3rd round, so I think they're going to use both. I'm not too worried about, like, Singletary's not a workhorse just with his size. Like, especially in a system like this, it's just not good. You can't put a 5'8" running back in a power offense. It doesn't work out like that. So I like both for fantasy and just to help the team in general. Back to Epinesa. This is a steal. They lowered this guy on their rankings and their big boards because he didn't run fast. Well, run-stopping interior defensive linemen don't run fast anyways in the 3-4 system. So, like, I don't know. That's a crazy value. And to fill the one position they needed after Shaq Lawson left, so I really like that there. Davis is a good... he's a good downfield stretcher. I mean, I don't think he's going to be much unless, like, Brown or Diggs gets hurt. But it's a good, like, backup to have just in case where you're not one step off. And then Jake Fromm, like I said, that's probably the best pick in the draft. If you look at it in terms of, like, accuracy, who's to say that Jake Fromm wouldn't do better in this offense than Josh Allen? I mean, I don't know. I just think it's perfect. This team has filled every single hole I think they need to win the AFC East.
Riff, I want to go to you on Jake Fromm first, and then give your boy Isaiah Hodgins a shout as well. So Fromm specifically, we talked about this last week when we were breaking down the quarterbacks, and Eason's coming up eventually too. And it was that these guys aren't necessarily bad quarterbacks per se, but the NFL is kind of trending in that dual threat quarterback, or dual ability at least. Jake Fromm, I mean, these are all collegiate professional athletes. I mean, he can move enough. But he's not considered a runner. Josh Allen saves his ass and his offense and definitely his fantasy stock because he runs, right? He had 9 rushing touchdowns last year. I don't see Jake Fromm getting anywhere close to 2 or 3 on the season, right? Unless they're the old Drew Brees, Tom Brady 1-yard sneaks. So how do you feel about this if something were to happen to Josh Allen, that they basically have to kind of change their offense to be a pocket presence?
They always have the O-line to do it, which is why Josh Allen, I think, has been so good at creating his own space when he's trying to make something out of nothing, or when he's been able to, when they run draw plays for him specifically. So it's not like they can't adjust the scheme offensively. It does change the dynamic of the team at identity. I don't think Jake Fromm is not an NFL quarterback. Like, I'm sorry, he's just not. He's a career college quarterback. That's what his identity is and will be. He's Tyler Hackenberg. He's I forgot the guy before him who was also drafted by the Jets from Penn State. But anyways, like he might be, Case Keenum. He's the guy who I don't think his opportunity will be with the Bills. He's going to get an opportunity somewhere. But I don't think he'll really ever pan out. So for the Bills, if Allen gets injured, it becomes a mass, especially in the first season. It becomes such a liability. I wouldn't trust anybody around Jake Fromm except for whoever the running back is. And I think Zach Moss is major competition for Singletary. I don't know if he will be off the bat, but I think down the road, Zach Moss is a monster. And we talked about it in our last few podcasts. Your last few podcasts that I was so fortunate enough to guest upon. But yeah, I don't like Jake Fromm on any team because I just don't think he's an NFL quarterback. So if I'm a Bills fan and Allen gets injured, I'm worried. I'm very worried.
Give me a couple seconds on Isaiah Hodgins.
Love Isaiah Hodgins. Dude's a monster. If there was like a Heisman system, if there was a Heisman equivalent for really bad teams, Isaiah Hodgins would have won the Heisman because he was just on. You're right. He's on the pro. This is not the Oregon.
The best of the worst.
Right. No, but he is. This isn't like, oh, or I'm an Oregon fan. I went to Oregon. I hate on Oregon State. No, I actually really like Jake Luton. I think he's a good quarterback. That offensive line was awful. What Jonathan Smith does offensively was genius. I mean, this guy, Oregon State is an innovative offense. You're going to see it over the next few years. Trust me on this. And they're recruiting well around it. Anyways, Isaiah Hodgins was like the test dummy. He was the test dummy for this new style offense. It worked perfectly. He's a plug-and-play guy. He's big. He's fast. He has good hands. He is a prototypical five-tool wide receiver that any team right off the bat could benefit from. It depends on, number one, again, who's going to get him the ball. I like the idea of Josh Allen throwing him the football. I don't like the idea of him playing in the cold up in Buffalo. That obviously limits speed and durability. But other than that, I mean, yeah, 6th round for a guy like this, yeah, that's a steal. That's a steal.
Awesome. Anything else, Lucas?
Nope. It's a bad landing spot, but I really like Isaiah Hodgins.
Great. All right, let's move on to the Jets. The Jets have 9 picks in this one here. They filled holes that they needed to, and I think they could maybe surprise in a wide-open AFC East. I've made it very clear that I'm not a big fan of Adam Gase or any of his decisions, frankly, but I think, Mekhi Becton was a huge get. 6'7", 360. He can only help the 31st ranked rushing attack from last year. So Le'Veon Bell, who I've been hating on for 2 years because of his system, my hate's gone down like half a notch. So that's good. Denzel Mims, I thought was a great grab there. Again, maybe not the best landing spot for Denzel himself, but I think that helps out the Jets. The Michael Pirine and James Morgan as well as a backup quarterback. So any thoughts in general here from the Jets?
I mean, the only thing with the Jets is I'm just going to wait to see it to believe it with whatever they bring. I mean, like, yeah, they had a good draft. I'm hoping James Morgan beats out Darnold just so that I don't know. I'm just not a big Darnold guy, but I think they did good. I don't know if Denzel Mims was the pick. I think he's more of a Brashad Perriman, like, same type of receivers. I don't know if that's really the route they should have taken. It was a good value, but we'll see. I mean, it'll take a lot for them to beat the Bills. They did draft a safety in the 3rd round when they have 2 all-pro safeties. So I think Jamal Adams is probably on his way out sooner rather than later. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. Once Adam Gase gets fired, then I'll have a different take. But is he actually going to get fired? I don't think so for a while, so we'll see.
I don't wish negativity on people, and certainly not during a time like COVID where everyone's just blessed to even have any work if you have it. But Adam Gase needs to go. Now, he could be an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach or like a tight end cleat tire or some shit in the NFL forever if he wants. But head coach is just not his bag. I totally agree with you. There was a lot of kind of last minute super hype that I think kind of came out of nowhere for Denzel Mims. Not that Denzel Mims was a ghost before the draft or anything like that. Everyone's been talking about him, but it kind of like spiked the day before the draft happened. And I don't know if it was just people actually watched his highlights or what. I mean, his dude's a beast. They don't have a prototypical number one, in my opinion. Jamison Crowder's fine. Brashard Perriman's fine. Robbie Anderson's in Carolina now. Is there a chance that Denzel Mims could be the wide receiver 1 here before too long?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't like huge on him because, like I said, when it comes to the combine, players that become good in quotation marks after the combine, I don't buy into. Because they became good after the combine, after the NFL season or the college season, like 2 months after it. So I feel like it's like, and I think it showed. I think the NFL, because everyone was mocking them to like the Vikings at 22, and I was like, no, like the Vikings aren't going to take someone that wasn't good, like wasn't talked about till after he ran a 40-yard dash. So I think he definitely could be. I just think, I mean, one, look at the Baylor track record of receivers. The best one is Josh Gordon. Look how that worked out. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he'll get a lot of production just because he's the only receiver on the team. With what he can do with that, I'm not for sure.
Riff, I'm going to give you a chance to either defend or pile on to Sam Darnold here, USC guy. Do you think he's just young and hasn't had the opportunity? He got fucking mono last year out of nowhere. He's still only 23, dude. I mean, a lot of these rookie quarterbacks right now are the same age as he is, and he's been in the league for 3-4 years. Again, being a SoCal guy, just want to get your thoughts on Lucas's comment about Sam Darnold, the Jets in general, and maybe James Morgan being the legit threat.
Yeah, shout out to San Clemente High School in Orange County for the product that is Sam Darnold. Yeah, he's 20. He's young. I think that it's just a product of the offense. Like you said, don't protrude any negativity on somebody, but like if you put him with Bruce Arians, how different of a quarter, how different of a system, how different are his numbers,
100%.
right? So the talent that the dude has uncharted talent in the pocket.
I agree.
But you mentioned their wide receiving core, and then I think, well, Sam Darnold has a cannon of an arm. He's playing in a colder place, an offense that is not cohesive to his style of play. Like Jamison Crowder's his number one wide receiver. What the fuck is going on? Okay, so that's basically that's my synopsis of the quarterback situation with the Jets. Now, I think Mims is going to be the number one. I think Mims will eventually carve out his spot. He's going to be like what Robbie Anderson, like we thought he was going to be when he started getting his numbers high in New York. But as everything happens, as every year we see with New York, there's like 2 or 3 really impressive stat-driven heavy games for these guys. And you're like, okay, maybe. Nope, never happened. It's the biggest. They're the biggest blue ball team in the world. So I like the idea of drafting Marshall, or not Marshall. What's his name? Yeah, James Morgan. Excuse me. Was he the pick over Fromm? I think that it's a higher ceiling play. Like I think we know what James Fromm is probably going to be. We don't know what James Morgan's going to be. So it's high risk, high reward taking him at that spot. But look, if this guy gets mono, if this guy goes down, and Sam Darnold, Morgan's a plug and play guy. Like he's a system quarterback. And if they can modify the system to fit his style and the growth that he needs to have in the NFL, I think he could be a formidable backup here. But again, they didn't address their defense at all. I know that they got Ashton Davis, who's great, anchored the top 3 secondary in the nation at Cal. But I know they traded their 6th round pick for Quincy Wilson from the Colts. But yeah, they just went offensive heavy. I hope that it helps Darnold. I don't know how it's going to help the team overall though.
Yeah, I agree. And, I want to give a shout out to what once Sam Darnold came back and got healthy, Robbie Anderson in a bad offense was able to take off as a deep threat. He had a few 100-yard games down the stretch there. And I think Denzel Mims could at least get that done. So, with them getting a fresh start and rapport, I think will help. And again, I don't think the Jets are good. I think they go 0-4, potentially 2-6 or something to start the first half of the season. And Adam Gase is fired, and then hopefully somebody that comes in there will just mix it up right away, and then our boy Gary Vaynerchuk will take over the Jets eventually, and we'll go from there. All right, let's move on to the Dolphins, and we can wrap up the AFC East. The Dolphins had 12 picks this year. They were tied with the Jaguars for the most picks in the AFC. 6 of these picks of their 12 were from the SEC. Of course, the first one here, Tua Tagovailoa, 5 overall out of Alabama. Of course, no real surprise here. There was whispers that people were going to, Chargers might move up to get him, or that the Dolphins might have to make a move to go get him or whatever. It worked out for everybody. My first question is for Tua. Should he start week number 1 if he's healthy, or again, regardless of health, should he just kick back and enjoy the ride for a few weeks behind Fitzmagic?
I still think they should just let him sit and learn behind Fitzmagic. If talk about one guy you want to learn behind, obviously, you're not learning to, be a Super Bowl champ, but the man's been all over. He just knows the NFL in and out. I think it'd be perfect. I guess I can just go into the next pick, then Austin Jackson out of USC. Everyone hated this pick because he had donated bone marrow to his sister. That's like hating a player because they got injured their senior year or their junior year going into the NFL. He was mocked in the first round prior to that, in every single mock draft. He's a good offensive tackle. He couldn't squat like a bar last year during workouts just because he didn't have his strength. Now he has it back. I don't want to say perfect left tackle because I think Josh Jones might still be better in the long haul, but I think Austin Jackson's a good pick. They got their, say, left tackle, but I think they'll move him to right tackle because, like we said, Tua is a lefty, so they're going to need a right tackle more so than a left tackle. I think they had a good draft. I wanted them to add one receiver because Preston Williams is still kind of banged up, so we'll see what they do there. They traded for your boy Matt Breida mid-draft to kind of a good trade for both teams, I guess you could say, so that might help them out. I think that they took the step in the right direction, as much as Dolphin fans might not like the draft, they got a lot of guys that are perceivably bad because they played at a small school, or when it comes to the draft, it's a bad pick if they don't get the guy that you want them to take for your favorite team. So like, take it with what you will, but I think they did a really good job maintaining their plan and just developing the depth on the team.
Riff, thoughts on Tua?
Makes sense. I think Fitzmagic is the old wise guy in the league now, like Lukas. I think that was the perfect sort of a bridge synopsis of his standing now with these guys, because he's been everywhere. He went to Harvard, obviously. Up until Justin Herbert's incredible score, he was like the most, like the Wonder League score was like for Ryan Fitzpatrick was like that was what you heard about with this guy. Smart. He's always. It seems like he's very willing. Poor Josh Rosen, man. That guy just keeps getting the shaft.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny.
So sad. We could spend a whole podcast talking about Josh Rosen and his what the hell is going to happen to that guy. Anyways, yeah, I love the pick. It's going to be. I'm not worried about his durability. It's Miami. It's a little humid, but like he's in a place that's warm, and his brittle
like Hawaii,
whatever,
dude.
like, huh?
It's like Hawaii.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like you're not really taking. It's like Gulf Shores, Alabama. Like you're not really taking this guy outside of the consistent weather pattern that he's been in. Like that's a big deal for people who question quarterback durabilities. Where are they playing? Are they playing in a place that that is the antithesis of your bones being brittle and potentially breaking, or does it help? Is it cohesive? So I think this is a cohesive. We all knew he was going to go to the Dolphins. It's the cohesive relationship, or to be the cohesive relationship with the offense. Hopefully the wide receivers pan out the way the wide receiver core. We know that obviously they have individuals who have some potential. But yeah, I mean, it's Miami. Who knows actually what's going to happen in terms of performance with this team? But I freaking love the pick. Just to Austin Jackson touch that really quickly because Lukas brought it up. People were really pissed, but people are pissed whenever Pac-12 players are picked high in the draft, right? People were pissed that the Herbert thing. Anyways, my point with Austin Jackson is Keaton Slovis would not have been the freshman of the year in the Pac-12, would not have been a top 5 freshman quarterback in the nation, and probably the second best quarterback in the Pac-12 behind Jaden Daniels out of ASU next year, if it wasn't for Austin Jackson blocking for him and creating that space for him. So I don't see any reason why this guy's not an NFL offensive tackle. Maybe a little bit high, maybe a little bit questionable with some of the other guys, the SEC guys in the draft. They need somebody dynamic. This guy's probably the most dynamic, quick off the line guy that they have that you could draft offensively. So I'm not mad about it in the first round.
I want to give a quick shout out to Blake Ferguson, long snapper out of LSU, 6th round pick, 185 overall. I played long snapper in high school. It's not as easy as you would think. Back in my heyday, I was good for a good 15, 20 yard snap. I believe in the pros, it's 15 yards. So shouts out to my man Blake Ferguson for giving the rest of us some hope. All right, let's move on to the AFC North. We've got the North and the South getting going here. If you're still with us, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel right here. Leave a comment of your favorite picks here from your team. And also make sure to leave a rating review for the podcast. We'll jump right in here. We can speed this up a little bit. Maybe we'll just have one of you guys cover a team, and then the other one can jump in if you have a particular take. Otherwise, we could just keep blazing here. Let's start with the Ravens, who, frankly, just reloaded. The Baltimore Ravens here, 10 picks. I loved their draft overall. As Lukas just said, one of the highest grades in general from the draft. They're just a very, very well-run franchise. They know exactly what they want to do. They came in with a plan. They executed it. Same old with the Ravens. Patrick Queen, linebacker. We don't talk about a lot of defensive players here on the podcast, but to get him at the very back of the first round, I thought was a steal in that defense, specifically potentially the new age Terrell Suggs, who could be a beast. J.K. Dobbins here from Ohio State. Devin Duvernay, who I know we all talked about, and we're loving on the wide receiver podcast last week, and then James Prochet. Let's talk about J.K. Dobbins and Devin Duvernay real quick. J.K. Dobbins, running back out of Ohio State. Ingram handcuff and replacement pretty much guaranteed. I guess my question is, there's a lot of hype in dynasty leagues for Justice Hill, and Gus Edwards. Do either of those guys still have relevance?
No, I mean, I was doing research on this to kind of figure out how I want to rank Dobbins. So taking into account Gus Edwards for last year, he snaps per game. He was only 7 less than Mark Ingram. It was 33 and 26. The Ravens ran personnel of 2 running backs at like 29%, which I believe is second in the NFL. So they're both going to be on the field. And then another thing I found with if you look, I think we touched on it in the running back pre-draft episode. Dobbins, when he added Justin Fields last year, they ran a lot of RPOs. That's when he saw like the extreme boost in production. That's when he was the most effective. He goes to the team that runs the most RPOs in the NFL, and the Ravens. So you basically take an offense that went 14-2 with speed. You add a receiver with probably top 3 speed in the class. You had a running back with fantastic breakaway speed. And then you get James Prochet in the 6th round, who I think is just a baller. I think he's going to have a long NFL career because he loves to play. Like, he just doesn't do anything wrong when he plays, and I think that's perfect. This team had by far the best draft. They were probably the best team last year. It's scary that they got all this value, and all they did was trade back. They didn't trade up one time, so I really like what they did. And this offense, as much as you can't think it can go to the next level, it went to the next level.
We know Hollywood Brown's there. He was the number 1-ish last year, a deep burner. How do we feel about Devin Duvernay as the number 1, Lucas?
I mean, I don't think I'll draft him in fantasy just because you don't draft a receiver like that in fantasy with like I didn't draft Hollywood last year because a receiver like that doesn't get 7 to 8 targets a game like people might have thought he would. So it's kind of more now I'm even more confident about a Lamar Jackson type or like Mark Ingram because now it's going to open up even more in the box, which there was already like 9 in the box trying to stop Lamar Jackson anyway. So I think I'll focus on the run game for the Ravens a lot more than the receiving game.
Love it. Anything to add to the Ravens quick, Jonathan, before we get to the Steelers?
All I have to say is that it's sad that my ex-girlfriend is a Ravens fan because I really want to root for them because their team is phenomenal and I love this draft. And we'll see how I feel by the NFL season.
My lady's a big Ravens fan as well. All right, let's jump into the Steelers then, man. We'll let you take this one away, Riff. 5 picks, tied with the Texans for the fewest picks in the AFC here. In the second round, back in the second round, they grabbed Chase Claypool from Notre Dame. I think that's a downgrade for Deontay Johnson, who, again, had a lot of hype, maybe still has a lot of hype in dynasty leagues. Juju, I think, will be just fine, but this could be an immediate number 2 here getting picked in the second round. And then Booger Jr., Anthony McFarland, running back out of Maryland, who I know we all like a lot. This is curtains for James Conner, in my opinion. Riff, take it away.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, he doesn't have speed, but he's tough, and he just fits into the system really well. I mean, it's hard to say, okay, well, this is what our team needs, but we only have 5 draft picks. How do we fill those needs, especially when 3 of those draft picks are 4 through 7 round picks, right? Claypool. So here's my thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know if he'll be a compliment to Smith-Schuster. I don't know. Like you mentioned Darius Hayward-Bay earlier. Remember Darius Hayward-Bay when he was on Pittsburgh and he had like a couple good weeks. I remember I picked him up from fantasy after he had like 1 monster week, and I'm like, finally the guy that we think was going to pan out is and then it was like that's how I think Chase Claypool can be. Like he can put up numbers, but number 1, like what's the Steelers' offensive identity going to be like? Number 2, like the consistency issue. I thought it was too high for him at wide receiver at 49. It's a downgrade, 100%. And then McFarland was a value pick, I think, at 4th round. I really like him. With Conner out, I mean, this is the realm of the last 4 quarterbacks that Pittsburgh has taken, running backs, that Pittsburgh has taken. The 4th and 5th round. Again, like I said, not as fast as Conner, but muscular. He can pass block. You can dump it down to him on screen passes. So he adds another dynamic element out of the backfield for Pittsburgh. So yeah, I mean, they made the most of their 5 picks. Obviously, upgraded the O-line, got a safety out of Maryland, Antoine Brooks, who was pretty good. So, yeah, I'm not upset about their draft at all. But again, limited picks make it hard to figure out exactly what they were able to fill in team needs.
And obviously, Pittsburgh had a down season last year with Big Ben getting hurt, and Big Ben got hurt a few years ago when our boy Dennis Dixon gave it a shot and was unfortunately terrible. But other than those couple of seasons when Big Ben got hurt, in my entire life, I'm in my early 30s. I can't remember a season where the Steelers were straight up bad. They're not. They're a machine. They needed new pieces. They had only 5 picks, as you mentioned. They filled those pieces pretty well, I thought. Lucas, really quick, I'd like to move on here to the Browns, but I know you're a big Booger Jr. guy. How are you feeling about this landing spot? And they already had 4 running backs, but it was pretty clear knowledge in fantasy circles that the Steelers were going to find a running back. They end up with Anthony McFarland Jr.
I mean, both their skill position pieces mean one thing to me. I mean, they have cap space issues. They're tight on cap. Juju and James Conner, I think, are gone. I think that's just really what it is. They don't have the money to sign him back unless they rework it. But if Big Ben's still there, that means he's getting top QB payment. So They just took 2 upside guys in hopes that they can replace the high-profile guys they already have there, I think.
Fair enough. Let's jump into the Browns. 6 picks. They got another tight end and another receiver. They obviously get Austin Hooper. They still have Odell and Landry. They have David Njoku coming back. Their first pick, 10th overall, Jedrick Wills from Alabama. Big, huge SEC offensive lineman. Good move there to protect Baker, of course. And then pretty much defense otherwise. And then Harrison Bryant, who I know we talked about out of FAU, the big tight end there, and Donovan Peoples-Jones at the end of the 6th round out of Michigan. Lukas, any quick thoughts on the Browns picks?
They're going to run all over teams. That's like the only takeaway I got from this. You take Jedrick Wills, you complete – I don't make O-line rankings. I think O-line rankings are kind of dumb anyways because Seattle's
O-line –
everybody
else, though.
Yeah, Seattle's O-line rankings always 26, and they always produce the most rushing yards. So I think they're kind of subjective. They have a good O-line. You had Harrison Bryant, who my guess is they're just going to trade Njoku or get rid of him somehow. Harrison Bryant can play the J-back, can block. And then, we already had Jack Conklin. So I think it's just they're going to run all over teams. Stefanski's the coach. He wants to run the ball. I think they've done good, but we'll probably talk about the Browns more. I'll wait till I see it before I believe in it, just like last year.
Deal. Let's move on to the Bungles, and I'm very close to referring to them as the Bengals, but until they're not the Bungles, I can't do it. The Bungles have 7 picks this year, first overall pick in the 1st and the 2nd round. Of course, Joe Burrow. We did not start the episode with it because we're going team by team, but of course, you've heard by now Joe Burrow went 101. Turns out, I was listening to the radio, I was running some errands yesterday during the end of the 7th round after the draft, and I heard that Joe Burrow had been studying the Bengals playbook for the last 3 weeks. So all of this bullshit smoke that we always love to have right before the draft of this movement and all these things is just a bunch of bullshit per usual. So Joe Burrow's been a Bengal for the last month, and they made it official a couple nights ago. One of my favorite picks of the entire draft here, at least long-term, is obviously stunted this year, but long-term is my boy T. Higgins out of Clemson. Going to the Bengals here. He and Joe Burrow, if everything works out, could be, I think, a better version of Andy Dalton and A.J. Green for 10 to 12 years. He's one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft class in general. I was really hoping the Niners would take up him, but we'll get to them in just a little bit. Other than that, they kind of just got some defensive players to wrap up their pretty porous defense and their offensive tackle. Rifkind, really quick, no surprise with Burrow moving, but how do you feel about T. Higgins?
Oh, fantastic. I think Clemson is an interesting program to take players from, and we'll see this next year more so. And I guess we'll see what their defensive guys that were taken this year. But they're hit or miss. They're an ACC powerhouse. Dabo Swinney's one of the best coaches in the game. They don't accept transfers. This is a fun fact about Clemson. They do not take transfers. If you come to Clemson, you're coming as a freshman. They will not let you transfer to that program. So everybody's really well furnished. Everybody's really well disciplined. They've been in the program at least 3 years, obviously, which is a big deal. So T. Higgins, you know what you're getting with him. There's more than enough tape. He could turn out to be the best wide receiver in this draft. Having Joe Burrow, I know that's the hot take. I know that.
It's true, though. It's true.
That was a like I'm feeling it.
Oh, you like that? Dude,
I do like that.
Because here's how I see it. Joe Burrow is the most NFL ready quarterback in this draft. We know he is. We saw it last year in the freaking SEC that had 15 players taken in the 1st round alone, right? So if you tell me that, he was in college, no, this guy was basically playing for semi-professional football team, in a semi-professional football league. That's what it ended up being. So T. Higgins the ball, get some protection. John Ross the offset. Who knows what's going to happen with A.J. Green? That's my only NFL jersey is A.J. Green, and I hope to God he stays. Who knows? I hope he gets healthy. But yeah, man. Obviously, we knew what the Bengals were probably going to do with this draft. They killed it. You're going to be by week 3. You're going to be calling them the Bengals. By week 2, actually, Scott, they will no longer be the. That's my hot take.
I think that's your hot take.
I will happily give it to you. Defense is so upgraded. I know they lost Kirkpatrick. I like the Akeem Davis gave their offensive line pick from App State. Go look at that guy's tape. When they played some big boy programs in his 2 seasons as a starter there, he was the anchor. So yeah, I have no quick lead. Kareem was another. I know we don't talk about defensive guys, but out of Notre Dame, one of the better, I know independent, but like one of the better ACC style defensive ends. So yeah, no, the Bengals killed it with what they were able to do with the picks that they had.
Yeah, T. Higgins is buried on the depth chart. I think at least to start camp. Obviously, AJ Green. We'll see what happens with him. He still may even hold out or pull some shit. We'll see what happens there. But Tyler Boyd, who's definitely been emerging in the last couple of years. Auden Tate, who came on, another huge receiver. And as you mentioned, John Ross, who's awesome when he's on the field, but he's got injury concerns. So I think T. Higgins could at least be the number 3 going into the season. But again, he's one of my favorite receivers in this draft class in general. And this year, I think it's going to be frustrating. So you may be able to get value on him in dynasty leagues. But after AJ Green's done next year and after one of those receivers moves and John Ross may not pan out, I mean, T. Higgins could be the number 1 or number 2 behind Tyler Boyd here in just a year or two. And I think that's going to be a steal once he gets that full rep with Joe Burrow for a year or two. So I like that a lot. Not much to add, but Lukas, I'll give you the chance here for the Bengals.
I mean, I have a feeling that after they took Burrow at pick 33, they had all day to talk about it. They asked him who he wanted. I just have a feeling because the Bengals, that's the Bengals franchise. They've had Joe Burrow drafted since Tua got hurt. It's true. That's what's happened. And he chose T. Higgins. I could be completely wrong. It might not have actually happened. But if he chose,
dude, that's a.
I mean, like if he chose
not
Higgins,
far off. That's not far off because they did have, the first take in the first round and the first take in the second round. So you're right. They did basically have overnight say, okay, all these guys are out. Whoever's left, you can pick any of them. Who do you want? I don't think that's far-fetched, man.
And he chose Higgins, who I think is an NFL-ready receiver. AJ Green, unless he's playing, I think he's gone. I don't think they'll mess up the whole trade thing this time. So I'm really excited. John Ross, if he stays healthy, Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins is a fun combo.
What if AJ Green landed in Green Bay?
Well, they're going to run the ball now, according to Matt LaFleur, so it wouldn't matter.
He's going to get a lot of love from Jordan up there.
I guess, whatever. That's the worst franchise in the NFL now.
All right, moving on to the Houston Texans, who had 5 picks as well, tied with the Steelers for the fewest picks in the AFC. Not really sure what to think about Houston overall. Of course, we know about all of their offseason situations with Nuke Hopkins and David Johnson and Brandon Cooks and whatnot. Randall Cobb as well in the mix. There's not much to cover here as far as skill players here. They have Isaiah Coulter at the very bottom here out of Rhode Island, wide receiver, 5th round, 171 overall. Any thoughts at all for the Houston Texans, either one of you?
The only thing I have to say is they traded DeAndre Hopkins, like one of the best receivers in the NFL for the last 5-6 years, for David Johnson and defensive tackle, the least important position on a football team. So that's Bill O'Brien for you. If you're watching the draft, he screamed the F word at the TV after he made a pick, probably because like he read the name wrong to the guy on the phone or something. I don't know. It makes like the thing that's funny. The funny part about it is he's part GM, so he's not going anywhere. Like Houston's stuck with what they have for probably 5-10 years. So.
You talked about how, you said that Green Bay is the most like dysfunctional or the worst. I don't know. I think
it's definitely Houston.
Yeah, I would agree the Packers, but the Packers at least have legendary status forever,
And the difference is like this team had the pieces and just like fucked it up. Like the Packers, it's mismanaged. Like this is something way deeper. Like I don't know what's going. Houston is I don't even know. Anyways, I thought I can't believe. I know that Ross Blacklock, at TCU is a monster, and I know that like they gave away their 1st round pick in the Laramie Tunsil trade. They re-signed Tunsil to a big contract, which now limits their cap space. I'm shocked I didn't take a wide receiver. I'm shocked up until the end. Like you got rid of Hoskins, you signed somebody who like may not even like actually help your offense, and then you take Isaiah Coulter out of Rhode Island. I've seen draft grades for the Texans go from A- all the way down to F. I am definitely leaning down towards the F. Not for the players. The players are fantastic, but for the team needs. It's such a disappointment, and I used to love. It's
so bad. It's Deshaun Watson will have everyone in the world to leave, but he's on a club option, so he doesn't get to choose if he gets to leave or not. Like it's completely in Bill O'Brien's hands if he leaves. So like it's. Randall Cobb might see 200 targets this year. Like that might actually be the case. Like it's so bad.
Well, it's funny because earlier also you mentioned about Jerry Jeudy, like, well, everybody's like, oh, he's just a vertical runner. Like, no, he's not a vertical runner. Like, that guy can like run route. They run plays for him to get him open in space. Isaiah Coulter's all this guy does is he's another version of Hollywood Brown. He's just going to run a vertical.
And they already have two of those guys.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that makes no sense.
They didn't even bring it. Like, the fact that they had an opportunity where they could have taken a possession wide receiver. Like, even take Jawan Johnson. Like, go out and sign him. Unsigned. Right. I mean, Michael Pittman was there. Like, they had opportunities for possession wide receivers to help complement the guy who Cobb and what's his face, Mr. Injury Prone. But
Will Fuller.
Yeah, Will Fuller. Thank you. But yeah, man, what just an atrocity. Again, the players are great that they drafted, but not the team.
And they have a ton of receivers. If you look at their depth chart, there's all names that somebody's cared about in fantasy over the last 3 years. You've all been like, oh, I got Kiki QT off of waivers for free. Awesome. I got Will Fuller for free. Awesome. I got Kenny Stills who blew up for 3 weeks. Awesome. Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, who was amazing 7 years ago. But they don't have a one. They have a bunch of 2.5s, and 3 of them can't stay healthy. Man, Deshaun Watson's going to be the quarterback 1 in fantasy by like 300 points, or he's going to be a QB 25.
What's crazy about that conversation too is if you think about all the previous conversations we've had about the Raiders, the Bills if Josh Allen gets injured, or about the Broncos, like these teams who have great wide receivers. Like, if you put Deshaun Watson in any of those programs, and you have a team that compete with KC. It's so sad that this is the conversation that we're having, and like all these players, man, it would just be so much more fun. It would just be so much more fun.
Well, if Deshaun goes down too, I mean, the Texans are just done winning games.
They should go sign you. Are you kidding?
I'm ready, bro. I'm a lefty too, so Tua and I can make it happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I've been waiting since Vic left. All right, let's move on here. Tennessee Titans, 6 picks, the fewest. Few patches to fill what they already had. I mean, I think they did a great job on this draft as well. Shouts out to the draft room. I thought that was pretty hilarious with a couple of their different takes there with costumes and whatnot. I mean, not a lot of fantasy implications per se. Darrington Evans out of Appalachian State.
Yeah.
I've been studying for a week, bro. I got you. Let's talk about this real quick. So, end of the 3rd round, not a super sexy pick per se. We did talk about him a little bit last week, but what is to talk about is for the last 2 years, Derrick Henry hasn't had a handcuff. It was Dion Lewis, who is not a handcuff. He's a complimentary back, meaning if Derrick Henry goes down, there's no way in hell Dion Lewis is going to do anything close to what Derrick Henry has the capability to do. A few years ago when Derrick Henry was a rookie and they had DeMarco Murray, they were legit handcuffs where they could do similar things. Darrington Evans now, I think, is a handcuff and a complimentary back with Dion Lewis going over to the Giants. Lukas, how do you feel about this here? And I don't really want to dive super deep into rankings and dynasty value and all that shit because you and I are going to spend a whole another couple episodes on it. But very quickly, what is your quick thoughts on that? Because I'm personally nervous to draft Derrick Henry in general because he's a one-trick pony, although he's a very good, maybe a one-trick stallion. How about that? But he doesn't offer much in the pass game. Is this something where Darrington Evans maybe offers even more if Derrick Henry were to go down?
Yeah, I mean, they got Isaiah Wilson, one of the best run-blocking tackles in the class. So, not that I can't say he's Jack Conklin, but I don't think their run game misses a beat from what it did last year. Darrington Evans will be Dion Lewis with the potential if they don't sign Derrick Henry back, which I don't think they will. They didn't do it this year. Why would they do it next year? Like, you don't just change your mind in the middle of the year.
After another 350 carries, yeah. Yeah,
after you go to the AFC Championship. Like, everything was there for the reasoning to sign him back, and they didn't. But Darrington Evans has all the skills to not be Derrick Henry, because he's not. He's a completely different size, speed, whatever, but to be an NFL running back. So I really like that pick. I think they saw that too, that he can be Dion Lewis for a year. He's not gonna be like, hey, give me carries. I went to a big school. I deserve it. He went to Appalachian State. Like, there's definitely, he knows what he's getting into, but he could definitely be the workhorse. So I think, we'll go into redraft rankings and all that stuff, but I think it's good for this year, and I think it's also good for next year in the future for the Titans to keep their run game.
Riff, give me a couple thoughts on your boy Cole McDonald, who I tried to listen back and I just didn't have time to recap the episode. I feel like you may have called this-ish about a good landing spot for him could be Tennessee for Ryan Tannehill because you just didn't have the confidence that Ryan Tannehill is a long-term answer in general. Cole McDonald, for those of you unaware, 7th-round pick, 224 overall, not a high-profile name out of Hawaii. But again, you did bring him up as one of your deep sleepers, so I want to give you a shout on that real quick. And again, I believe you did mention him to the Titans.
I did. Great memory, and I appreciate the shout out. I love Cole McDonald. I mean, not because I'm a Southern California guy and he went to Sonora High School out in Orange County, but because I like Mountain West quarterbacks who are overlooked, and I like especially Mountain West quarterbacks coming from a system that is like the system they're entering in the NFL. That played under a head coach with a lot of connections in the league, and now, I mean, Nick, we talked about Rolovich on the last pod. He's up in Washington State now. Like, this is Washington State only brings in head coaches who are good with quarterbacks, right? Cole McDonald led Hawaii to their first Mountain West championship ever, and that was against a phenomenal. We saw what Boise State did. Like, they had some guys taken. Boise State's a phenomenal team. So Cole McDonald, the reason I was so high on him was because he's an exciting player, and it was cool to see what he did this season. How does it translate in terms of the NFL? So if Ryan Tannehill goes down, what you're basically getting now is that dual threat quarterback. You're getting a guy you can run the RPO with. I don't know how he would fit with Derrick Henry, because you can't run a speed. Derrick Henry's not an option running back. Cole McDonald is an option quarterback. So I think that's where, if Ryan Tannehill goes out and you decide that you want to run the speed option, that's where you probably bring in Darrington Evans. So that's I think he's a compliment more to Evans than he is a backup to he has to be a backup to Tannehill, but that's more what I see him as. I actually think they'll run plays for him regardless, because he's a draw style quarterback, right? Like, you could be in the 5-yard line, you could line Henry up behind him, and then you could offset Henry, and then you could just have McDonald run it in because he's way more athletic than Tannehill is. So he provides value from that perspective right off the bat. But he has an arm. He's smart. I love him in the system. I don't want anything bad ever to happen to anybody. But if Ryan Tannehill does go down, I would love I want to see McDonald get that opportunity, because I think he would. A lot of people say, "Who the hell is this guy?" And I think he could turn some heads. Ryan Tannehill's been hurt 90% of his career, unfortunately. Yep. In Miami, he was hurt for like 3 seasons, and he didn't come in until halfway through last year, either. So the recency bias is in Ryan Tannehill's favor, but I'm definitely suspect to it. And as you mentioned, even if they have to go with Darrington Evans style or they have to do RPO type shit, they just deal with Derrick Henry, who's still a fucking beast. He's still young-ish. And they deal with him for 1 year in that offense, and then maybe they ship him out, for whatever, and they just change the offense in general. So I remembered it happening, and I wanted to give you a shout out for that real quick. Appreciate
Riff, I want you to carry on here actually with the Colts real quick, because your boy Michael Pittman ended up here, which I thought was a good landing spot, which they just needed big time. So the Colts had 8 picks overall. They're stacking for now and later. They went wide receiver, running back, and Jonathan Taylor, who, Lukas, I'll let you take over, and then Jacob Eason at quarterback, who, again, pocket passer, filling in for a pocket passer on his way out with Phillip Rivers. I thought this was a stellar first couple picks and really just overall draft for the Colts, who had a down season last year. Obviously, basically Andrew Luck retired and shit kind of went up in flames. They didn't really have a fill-in there. But this year I feel really good about the Colts in general, reloading and then getting everybody prepped for the next 5 to 10 years. So, Riff, take us into Michael Pittman, who I know you like a lot out of USC.
I will. Yeah, the Colts had the best. The Colts had the best draft, like, for what they need. I love the Colts. So Pittman, yeah, we talked about this as a potential really good landing spot for him. I wanted to see him on San Francisco. I'm sorry, Sky. I know we were texting. They decided to take Brandon Ayuk. We'll talk about that in our.
I love me some Ayuk personally, but
yeah. So you can't go wrong. And they're different kinds of wide receivers. And Ayuk fits that offense, the Shanahan offense perfectly. We'll go into that another time. But yeah, look at the depth of this team, right? You have 3 quarterbacks. Well, I would argue that Brissett's the most mobile of the 3, but all really good pocket passers. And Pittman benefits most from pocket passers because he's a possession quarterback. He's not a guy who can go out and create plays in space. He's a guy who you are going to get the ball with the idea that if you can get it within his catching radius or it's a 50-50 ball, he's going to come down with it, not for yards after catch, but for the big play, for a first down, for a 3rd and 15, and you need 16 yards. That's your guy. It's going to take a lot of heat off of basically everybody else to have him, right? Like I know you'll talk about Jonathan Taylor, Lucas, but when they're on, like I said, when they're on 3rd and 8, and you put in Jonathan Taylor as your 3rd down back, and you have Michael Pittman in there as your possession wide receiver, and you have the other playmakers around Rivers that this team already has, and you have Desmond Patman, who's like a good backup slot. He's like a safe slot plug and play wide receiver. I mean, there's so many weapons now for this team, and they all fit in as a puzzle piece. So Pittman was like that puzzle piece for the Colts that they just nailed it with. So I fucking love this pick, and I don't know. I'm a Bolts fan because of Herbert, but I'm gonna be a total the Colts bandwagoner this season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just touching on all of it. I mean, I think we've been saying it. This team is in a win now mode. Like, people wanted it when they had pick 13 to go up and get Herbert or Jordan Love. Or this team is basically the Patriots. They made no moves to be in a rebuilding team. Well, one, prior to free agency. After free agency, obviously they traded pick 13 to DeForest Buckner. One, that has to mean something. They're not trying to get their quarterback to rebuild with. They're definitely trying to win. They go take the guy that, I mean, Derrick Henry broke the running back record or rushing record, or held the rushing record. I don't know if he broke the record. Jonathan Taylor gets to play behind one of the best offensive lines we've seen in the last 2 years, probably the next 5 years if they all stay together. He might run for 2,000 yards for the next 3 years, just like he did in college. Yes, Marlon Mack's there. They can cut him for $500,000 before June 1st. They probably won't because, I mean, that's in a month. They're not going to be having anything football related in a month, so they'll probably keep him around. But Jonathan Taylor's a better running back than Mack. They'll probably work in both and then just trade Mack. If a playoff team needs a running back, they'll just give him Mack for like a 5th rounder or something. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. But either way, Jonathan Taylor's the long-term running back. Probably the best possible landing spot for a running back like him with what Jonathan Williams was like a running back 1 the 1 week he played against the Texans, just because he got 25 touches. So I think everything they've done is great. And then you had Jacob Eason, who I wanted them to get. The part that concerns me with Eason is that they traded up twice in the 3rd round and didn't take him. So, that shows there's a lot of development for him, more so than I thought there actually was. But still, you sit behind Rivers and Brissett for a year. They're not under contract next year. They're not going to be in position to go get Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. If Jamie Newman's as good as people think he is, he's not going to be there at the back end of the 1st round next year in the NFL draft. And I think I looked at the free agents. It was Mitchell Trubisky on a club option, Deshaun Watson on a club option, or Dak Prescott if he doesn't get signed back. So this team is, unless Rivers stays, this team is Easton's team for the future. So I really like that pick as well.
Awesome. And quick question on fantasy drafts and Lucas. Obviously, in Dynasty, Jonathan Taylor over Marlon Mack all day. Redraft right now. Now, much of this will be cleared up by August when real drafts are happening. But if you had to draft today in redraft specifically, would you be targeting Mack or Taylor?
That's kind of a tough question because Taylor's going to be way ahead of Mack in terms of ADP. That's just what happens when a guy like that gets drafted. So I think that's more so of I'd obviously draft Jonathan Taylor. But if we don't have training camps, you can't expect JT to be the running back the first, honestly, 3-4 weeks. I mean, we saw it with Nick Chubb. It's the same conversation. Nick Chubb was very productive, not to that extent, but he was a ground and pound running back, very productive in college. Went to a team with Carlos had a gross kind of ground and pound running back, you could say, I guess, at the time. So the same Marlon Mack, Carlos had kind of a similar type of running back, and then he obviously took over with a trade, but he took over just in general. So I think give it time. He'll probably be one of the guys we talk about to go trade for week 1 or 2 of redraft if there's no training camp.
Got it. Let's move on to the Jags. They're our last team to cover here for the AFC, and then we will get into the NFC on Thursday. So the Jags had 12 picks, tied with the Dolphins, most picks in the AFC. 6 of their first 8 were on defense, so not much to talk about there. But in the second round with the 42nd pick overall, they get Laviska Shenault, out of Colorado. Lucas, does this help or hurt DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook?
I think it helps right away because I think it's going to draw coverage off him. But I'm not a huge DJ Chark guy because he only did it for like 4 games last year, and his consistency was all over the board. And people seem to think he's like a top 12 dynasty receiver.
I'm with you.
But one, he doesn't have a quarterback. 2, what I just said, and then I think that Laviska Shenault, I think, is the type of guy that it's like Debo. It's the type of guy that you have to structure touches for. But once you realize how good he is with those touches, he becomes your number 1 weapon. So I think it's kind of like a similar sort of path to being the wide receiver 1. But ultimately, I think they run both. They will run both for a long time if they can get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields somehow with the defense they're rebuilding. I think they'll be in a good line to kind of bring back what they were a couple of years ago.
Great. And Riff, we'll end with you here. Let's talk about your quarterback out of Oregon State.
Remember Sean Mannion?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jake Luton is like Sean Mannion, another Oregon State quarterback, but like Sean Mannion-esque in that he's going to be a career backup. Like, I think on this team he can compete. If Minshew falters, Jake Luton can compete. Like, again, like he was bred in a Jonathan Smith offense at Oregon State that coming into the season, like the RPI had Oregon State's offense at like 105 of the 132 FBS programs. They ended up the season as like a top 40, top 30 offense. I know Isaiah Hodges emerged. They had a good running back, but it doesn't happen enough though. The quarterback will lose. Just a quick heads up. They're getting a really good guy named Ben Branson next year. That in 3 years, you and I will be talking about the same conversation. But yeah, so Luton, he's gonna obviously back up right away. I don't think he's gonna compete with Minshew off the bat. He can't compete with Minshew off the bat, but he does have the mechanics too. He has the skills too. He's really smart. That's his thing. He's incredibly smart. Doesn't have the best arm. Doesn't have the best feet. Pocket presence is a lot to be desired. But he's incredibly smart, and he can get you the ball, within a 20-25 yard cap pretty consistently. So yeah, I mean, look, having Laviska Shenault is incredible because I think that would help Luton having that kind of wide receiver. Look, the reason that what's his name at Colorado, that Mendes, that I'm totally forgetting his name. Thank you, Steven Montez. I have so many Mannion and whatever. Steven Montez was the reason that this guy was looked at to be a quarterback in the NFL for a couple of minutes was because of Laviska Shenault. So yeah, I think if Minshew goes down, the weapons are there for the Jags for Luton to do something. Whether it turns into fantasy value remains to be seen because I don't know what we're going to get out of this team offensively in general right now.
Great. One last thing, I'm going to give you guys I didn't prep you for this, so I'm going to give you just a couple seconds before I give you mine, but I'd like you to look through the list here and find your favorite pick for the team situation, the player himself, the opportunity, whatever it may be, you decide who is your favorite pick. I'm going to just go first and cheat right off the bat here with the Kansas City Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Fantasy-wise, I think he's going to step in immediately, be a beast. It looks like, if the picture I saw was real, then he's going to be taking Jamal Charles' number, which can only mean great things for him in Kansas City. I think he's going to overtake Damian Williams immediately, and Damian Williams will play a secondary role to Edwards-Helaire versus the other way around. That's how I personally feel about it. I think it's a great option. He's going to have great opportunity to score through the air and on the ground in a high-powered offense. Can't lose there in rookie drafts and even in redraft there as well. Lucas, why don't we go to you? Who is your favorite pick here in the AFC?
I really like the J.K. Dobbins pick. I think they'll have a short leash on Mark Ingram. Not this year, but I think next year it'll be all Dobbins. I mentioned the RPO. I just think it's a perfect fit. I think it's a tandem where, you saw it happen last year. 30-year-old Mark Ingram. Now you insert young breakaway speed J.K. Dobbins with Lamar Jackson. I really like that fit.
Riff?
James Prochet. I wish we talked about him more for where he was taken. He's not my favorite player in the draft. He's not my favorite player, situationally. But when Donovan Peoples-Jones was taken before him by Cleveland, and this guy was still on the board amongst other guys like Isaiah Hodgins, I lost my shit. I was like, what are you doing with this mediocre Michigan wide receiver? I know he's big. I know he has a track record for Shea Patterson is above average quarterback. All this, there's also so many implications that go into his success. He wasn't even that successful. So anyways, James Prochet is my guy. shout out SMU finally getting back into a little bit of their glory days of the 80s before they got the death penalty for 10 years. But yeah, man, James, what a steal. 201st pick for James Crochet. Get at you, Baltimore. We know how stacked they are at wide receiver, especially with the man running at quarterback. So yeah, that's my pick of the AFC draft.
That's awesome. So that's 2 Ravens back-to-back from you as well. If I was going defense, it's Patrick Queen for sure, with his ability there in that defense as well. So we could just add on Devin Duvernay as well for the Ravens. So the Ravens absolutely crushed their draft. No surprise there from that franchise. All right, boys, that's a long episode. We're about an hour and a half in. If you're still with us, we appreciate your time and commitment here to the Kansas City Kids Fantasy Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment here to the YouTube channel. Leave a rate and review on the podcast wherever you're listening. Make sure you share with your friends. Find us on Instagram at fantasyfootball_TCK pod and on Twitter at TCK_pod. You can also find all of our links and our rankings and everything else is coming out. We're going to be dropping our first official rankings over the next week. Now that we have the NFL draft done, I promised you all that. So we'll get those out ASAP at tckpod.com, tckpod.com. Jonathan, before we let you go, Lukas, you finally dropped the rookie guide, came out. It looks beautiful, my man. You and your team and everybody else involved, I'm blessed to be a part of it as well. Fucking crushed this thing, man. There's a ton of value in there. You guys spent a lot of time. Please take just a minute and let everybody know. It's out and about now, so where can we find it, and what exactly can they look forward to here?
Yeah, well, thank you to start. And then FSE, the letters in a row, lowercase, draftguide.com. There's a ton of stuff. I could probably talk about it all day. We got your amazing graphics that I don't know how to do. Those they look clear and they make it pop for sure. Write-ups, due to the Patriots drafting who knows what at tight end, we don't have them on there. We'll probably add them later because we did not I didn't even know they existed like we mentioned, so I'll probably have to add them on there. Hit rate data, vacated production data, like film evaluation, lots of stuff, and we're going to keep adding on it, obviously, as the season progresses. So FSE, draftguide.com. FSE
stands for the Fantasy Stock Exchange Collective. Awesome work there, man. Well done. Everyone go check that out. It is free content right now, and it's just a bird's eye view of what we're going to be looking forward to for the overall draft guide coming up here later in the summer. Riff, before we get out of here, man, always a pleasure. We got another one with you coming up on Thursday. But before we get out of here, please let everybody know again exactly what you're connected to and where we can find your content.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm all over the place, affiliated with different networks. But for podcasting purposes, my podcast is Believe in the Pac-12 on the Believe Podcasting Network with Ryan Leaf. Ryan and I just basically go into the deep dives of the Pac-12. We get guests on from all the different teams, beat writers. We even got, like, when Leach went to Mississippi State, we got, like, the Mississippi State beat writer. Like, it's pretty cool. So that's my side gig with Ryan Leaf. A lot of fun. Check us out on the Believe Podcast Network, BLEAV, play-by-play broadcast or otherwise. Currently in the midst of putting a pitch deck together for my multimedia company that just may have actually gotten a potential big opportunity, so more to come on that. But yeah, amongst all of that, my most favorite venture is this one right here, though, coming on the TCK podcast and just shooting the shit with you guys for an hour and a half on one entire like the fact that we just talked an hour and 40 minutes on one conference is insane, and I love it. I love every moment of it.
Right on, man. We're gonna do it all over again on Thursday, so stay tuned. Always a pleasure. Never to our gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the Kansas City Kids Fantasy Podcast. And until next time, for Lukas Kaser and Jonathan Rifkind, I'm Scott Guasco, and we are out of here.